And on Two Wheels this week, Jeff and I take a closer look at the two machines we used on our recent trip to the French Champagne region. Jeff opted for Yamaha's new sports tourer, the shaft-driven FJR 1300, while I chose Honda's new tour bus, the GL 1800 Goldwing. If you were watching last week's show, you'll know that the new wing now has an 1800cc fuel-injected motor. It's been reshaped and restyled, and Honda are daring to use the word sporty in their description of this new bike. I'm not sure it fits my definition of sporty, but it does handle superbly, and it managed to return an impressive 40 miles to the gallon on our recent round trip to France. But Goldwings are famous for their gadgets. So let's take a closer look at what this new one has to offer. Ah, there you are, admiring the front end of my Goldwing. Well, welcome back to part 2 of my Goldwing tour. Not the tour on the bike, the tour of the bike, because there's so much to talk about on this, all the bits and pieces. Where on earth do we start? Let's start here. Start at the top, as they say. Big screen there, nice clear screen. Loads and loads of protection off this. It hasn't got a vent in it like the 1500s have. The GL 1500 has a vent in the screen, which is great on a summer's day because you can open and get a nice flow of air. It is adjustable, but it's not electric. Okay, I give in. BMWs have got electric screens, so that's one up for them, I suppose. It's not electrically adjustable, but it is adjustable. There's a couple of little levers at the back here, behind the mirrors, and the screen moves like that. See, so you can have it right up, or you can have it down fairly low. When you've got it down low, that's in its lowest position, you can see the difference there. You get a nice flow of air in your face, and when you've got it up, really, it's like sat behind a barn door. You can't feel anything, you're sat in just a still air here. And I have to say that recently, as you may have seen, I took this to France, did 1,200 miles to France and back in well, about 3 days, or just over 3 days. And this, I think, saved my life because I had the most horrendous journey from Dover back up to the north, to the frozen north, 300 miles or so in driving rain, freezing cold, and this definitely saved my life. I wouldn't have liked to have done it on any other bike. Anyway, welcome back round this part now. A dashboard, beautiful dashboard, look at that. I mean, the finish is perfect. Everyone says Honda know how to finish bikes, and this, well, it doesn't come much better than this, does it? Let me just lock that screen, by the way. That's how you lock the screen, just in case I drive off and forget. Beautiful there, rev counter, speedo, temperature gauge, fuel gauge, all the usual sort of stuff. All the clever stuff happens down here, in this sort of centre console, if you like. Flick it on, you get a lovely big Goldwing thing coming up there, just to remind you what sort of bike you're on. You've got a radio on this, and all the buttons here are for the radio, and you can play with that all day long, and you tune it in volume, you can switch it to an intercom, and you can plug your helmets in here, already wired in for you. So you would take that off, and you plug your helmet intercom into that. There's one at the back for the passenger as well. So you've got music while you ride, if you like. It hasn't got a cassette on it as standard, like the other ones used to have, but it's got a radio. It's all RDS, the radio. Very, very complicated, very technical. I don't know how it works properly. But all the buttons here, all these buttons are replicated here. So as you're driving along, you can flick up and down with your thumb. As I say, full RDS, volume, search, speak. You notice there, it says tune, stroke, disc, because you can have a CD on this. Yes, you can have a CD, and you can have that mounted on the bike, but it'll cost you 700 quid for the CD. I have heard of some people actually putting an MP3 player on these, and what they do is they put it in here. Because down there, they open that. I mean, just let me show you that again. Look at the way that opens. Watch this. It's like a car. Watch. See, it doesn't just go boing, boing. It's damped. It's all beautifully finished. And they're going to take that out, the people I've been speaking to, and they're going to fit an MP3 player in there because there is an auxiliary feed on the radio system. Very, very clever. What else have we got? A couple of trip meters, yeah, that's normal. We've all seen that before. We've got a clock up there. We've also got a temperature gauge. Look at that. I don't believe that for 1 minute. Here we go. There's the temperature, 18 degrees. That was down to 3 when I was in France in driving rain. Not that you're particularly feeling sorry for me, no, but I just thought I'd tell you. Temperature gauge there. And then we've got this mode here. Come here, I'm not finished. There's more. Come here. There's more. What's this here? Press this mode. Illumination, you can change that. You can adjust the clock there. Opening ceremony, that's your Goldwing sort of logo that comes up. Oh, all sorts of things. It's just fantastic. There's nothing that you can't do on this bike. You may have seen in there, when I pressed one of them, can't remember which one it was now, but we had a suspension adjustment. There it is. See that? It says high, low, 15. Well, the suspension on the Goldwings is adjustable. It's electronically adjustable. And you do that down here in this left-hand fairing here. What you do is here, you've got up and down. You have it on its centre stand like this. You have your ignition on, and you can adjust the preload at the back up and down. But very cleverly, they've incorporated 2 memory settings. So you can have one set for you when you're solo, if you like, and you can have another setting for when you've got your pillion on and you've got all your luggage in the bike handles differently. So quickly, easy to access them. There, of course, is a headlight adjust, because as you load the bike up and change the suspension, the angle of it changes, so you can twist your headlight there. We've got hazard warning lamps there. We've got everything. Take the key out. On this side, we've got a lockable compartment. And again, the way this opens is like very swish, very nice, very classy. So I flick the key there. Look at that. Pops up there. Nice lockable compartment. So handy for keeping your loose change in, especially if you're touring, you're going over toll roads and all that sort of business. Oh, we could go on and on and on. We've got this seat. Look at that. Beautiful backrest there. You can lean back on that there all day long. Put it on cruise control and lean back, because it's got cruise control as well. I nearly forgot that, didn't I? On the right handlebar here, we've got cruise. So what you do is you switch your cruise on. When you switch your cruise on, you get a light coming up saying your cruise is on. Okay, you know that anyway, because you press the button. Then you press that, and it sets it. It locks the cruise. It works from 30 miles an hour upwards. To switch the cruise control off, there are 3 ways you can switch the cruise control off. The easiest way is just to flick the brake. Any touch on any brake, bang, it's off straight away. Or you can actually decelerate, you can close the throttle, or you can physically switch it off. If you cancel the cruise control just by braking or by shutting the throttle, you can then resume your cruising speed by pressing this button here. You press the resume button and it takes you back up. You could do it hands-free if you wanted. It takes you back up to where you were and stays there. It's absolutely brilliant. And you can fine-tune it as you like, up and down. You can click it 1 mile an hour either way to get it exactly right. Not much fun if you're in a convoy, because it's difficult to use cruise in a convoy because speed varies by just 2 or 3 miles an hour. But if you're on your own, fantastic. Set that 85 mile an hour while you're abroad all day long. Anyway, where was we? The seating department, yes. Go into the lounge. Look at the size of this here. Fantastic, isn't it? Loads of back support there. It's great. The seat's actually slightly further forward than the GL 1500, and the bars are slightly sort of further back. You're a bit more pushed forward. In fact, the whole engine is further forward than the old GL 1500. More weight over the front, which does help with the handling. That made a difference with the handling. But the pillion's got more room. They say the pillion has got an extra 2 inches of room now. I don't know, I haven't measured it, but that's what they say. We've got speakers here. In fact, there are no speakers in this one, but you can have speakers fitted in there. You can have audio controls fitted for the pillion. So the pillion can play with the radio all day. We've got cubby holes here. Oh, it goes on and on and on. And I'm not even mentioning the boxes there. So have a look at the boxes. Look, I'll show you these boxes. Different shape the boxes now on this to the old wings. And in fact, the whole back end has been slimmed down. And when you look at it, it does look quite slim. When I first saw this in the back of a truck, when it came up to see us in Manchester, it did look small in the back of a truck. It doesn't look as big. And I think these panniers are slightly smaller than before. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure they are. I'm sure I used to get more gear in a GL 1500. It's all central locking this. Watch this, here we go. I press that, that's it. Quick flash of the hazards, and it's locked. Another flash, and it's open again. To open it, you can do that. Switches are underneath. If you want these open, this again, we're down to this sort of almost car-like thing, the way it's all damped. Watch this pannier. If I flick that open, the way it opens there, beautiful with these struts on it. Doesn't go, you know, boing, boing, boing. It's all beautiful. Very, very clever. And the same on the other side. Oh, you can get a full face helmet in here. You can get 2 full face helmets in here. Look at that, there's one. I could set another full face helmet quite happily in there as well. And I'll tell you what I'm going to show you while I'm in here. I must show you this, because you think there's a lot of stuff on this Goldwing. There's a lot to learn. See this? There's the handbook. Hey, it's like a workshop manual, isn't it? That's the handbook. All right, it's in different languages, but it's still a big handbook by anyone's standards. That plenty of information in there. Let's just put that helmet back before we drive off and leave it. So, central locking. Click of that. But then if I want to be really posy, when I pull up outside the pub car park for my orange juice, I press this one button here, and watch this trunk here. Watch. Look at that. No hands. Hey, fantastic. They think of everything. Flipping heck. What a bike. Well, I've done my very, very best to give you a in-depth guided tour of the new wing. There's probably loads of things I forgot, because believe me, you keep finding things every day and you think, what does that do? And you press something and something happens, or something pops up, or something moves, or whatever. You need to spend a lot of hours on one of these to get the feel of it, to get used to it, to get used to all the accessories, to know how to play with the toys quickly and easily. But I have to say, if I was going a long way for a long time, as I just have been, I say well over 1,000 miles in a couple of days or 3 days or whatever, there's no bike I'd rather be on. It's supremely comfortable, it's not slow, it handles fantastic, and it really is the perfect machine for the job. How much is it going to cost you then? Because you're getting a lot of bike here. Well, it's going to cost you £16,600 plus on the road charges. So what's that? On the road charges, 300 and odd pounds. So let's call it 17 grand it would cost you to put one of these on the road. But then you see, they tempt you with this lot here. I mean, this is hot off the press this afternoon, especially to me, on an email from Honda. And this is a list of accessories available for the new 1800. So top of this list anyway, is a CB antenna. You need a CB antenna, don't you? You will need one, because if you buy a Goldwing, you have to fit a CB radio, don't you? So you can talk to all your good buddies, have a good chat with Rubber Duck as you're cruising down the highway and all that. You'll need a CB antenna. It'll cost you £130, that will, and it'll take here, it says 60 minutes to fit. This is the CD unit I've already mentioned, £800. I think I said 7, but it's £800. 150 minutes to fit. Cylinder head covers, you can have special fancy cylinder head covers with different logos on, from £145 to £199. There's fairings for the top box for the trunk, there's fairings for the panniers. You can have a wood-like finish on your dashboard. This one's already got fitted. The beautiful big chrome disc covers on the front, 290 odd pounds for them. It goes on and on and on. Look at that lot. It's just endless. And this is only Honda's list of accessories that are currently available. This will be added to all the time. And I'm sure there are companies all over, even now, making bits and pieces for the new 1800. They'll be making chrome bits, bolt-on goodies, lights. We all like lights on the Goldwings, don't we? This has got a bigger, more powerful alternator, so you can light it up like a Christmas tree. Put lights all over the thing, all over the place. You can have a mobile disco going down the road, can't you? You can be jiving away in the seat with this CD radio pumping out. So the bottom line is 17 grand puts it on the road, but that really is just for starters, because if you own a Goldwing, if you've ever owned a Goldwing, you'll know what I'm saying is true. It's very, very hard to resist sticking bits and pieces all over it. You see a little gap, you think, oh, that'd look nice there. Oh, I might just stick an extra light on there, put some extra amber lights on there and a nice red light on the... Oh, it drives you mad. You see a bit of plastic spare, you say, oh, look at that, a bit of plastic showing, let's whack some chrome on it. It just goes on and on and on. So for 17 grand, yes, you get an awful lot of bike, you get a fantastic machine. But believe me, 17 grand is just for starters. And still to come after the break, Jeff takes a look at Yamaha's new FJR 1300.
Now, once upon a time, Yamaha made a sports tourer. First there was the FJ 1100, that was in around about 1985. Then came the FJ 1200, and then came the hub centre steered GTS 1000. But since 1996, they haven't really had anything in this class. Until now, that is. But this isn't a Blackbird ZZR type sports tourer, this is Yamaha's version, more of a touring sport. It's the FJR 1300. In fact, Yamaha themselves class the FJR as a performance tourer, and I can see what they mean. Not performance as in R1, but a comfortable long-distance machine, but with a sharpness missing in big tourers, and often compromised in sports tourers. So how have they done it? Well, first up, it's got a brand new engine, 1300cc. It uses a lot of the technology of the R1, but it is a new engine. It's got twin balancer shafts, one behind, one in front, and it's also cast the block, integral with the crankcase, makes for a very rigid engine and saves a bit of weight. Now that rigid engine allows Yamaha to use it as actually part of the frame structure. So if you see this perimeter beam frame, well, that's what it looks like at first glance here, but it's cast aluminium right around there, comes down there. The engine just sort of hangs from it in free space, bolted down at the bottom there. But it makes for a rigid package, and as I said, saves a bit of weight. Up the front end here, on the front forks, just look at the size of these stanchions. 48mm stanchions, pretty hefty. I think it's the same as the Thunder Ace, but they're probably different forks because it's a heavier bike. And perhaps one of the most distinctive things, but you can't see it that well, down here, the shaft drive. Now, it's not as obvious as on a BMW. They've actually slimmed it down and it actually looks like a conventional swinging arm. Until you get to the back and you get the old bevel box, of course. But that is a lightweight shaft drive unit, and it saves on sprung weight and makes for better suspension travel. Same up the front end. I should have mentioned up the front here, going back here, you'll recognise those calipers, same as an R1. Big discs, 298mm diameter. But if you can see in these wheels, if the camera can get in, these are incredibly lightweight. Well, I haven't felt the weight, but I'm told they're very lightweight wheels, and you can see why. It's got loads of holes in, like a piece of Gorgonzola's cheese. Cheesy or not, the big Yam has certainly got a lightweight feel to it. It's not actually light, of course, at 237 kilos, but it is compared to a Pan-European at 293 kilos or BMW's K12 at 260 kilos. But more than that, it feels so much more lively. The big torquey motor delivers its 145 brake horse at a lowly 8,500 revs, with its maximum torque at just 6,000 revs, so you can just leave it in top and fly by wire. Or you can play sports bikes with a clunky-free 5-speed gearbox. But don't get carried away, because if you wind it up too much, you'll hit the rev limiter, gently reminding you that revs are unnecessary on this Grand Tourer. The riding position took me some time to get used to, because it's far more upright than on my own bikes, and it has much lower pegs. But once my brain was switched over, it proved really comfortable with no aches or numb bum, even after a 180-mile non-stop run through France. And you can see why. First off, big padded seat, really comfortable, this one. And if I've got my leg over here, it's also got these big bars as well. These pull up from the top fork stanchion, and you really are not sit up and beg, but you're sitting pretty upright. But the old piece de la resistance is this screen, the Lecky screen. You've probably read all about it. If I just switch on. For tootling around town, you can keep it low like that, and on a very hot day you get plenty of fresh air. But then, depending on your mood, crank it up a little bit, and you can hear the different effect on it as it goes up. The wind noise drops on your helmet. Perhaps use it mid-position normally, but if the weather gets really foul, if it's really crappy, crank it up till it's virtually vertical. And the strange thing is, you actually get a sort of a vacuum, and you're drawn towards the screen, and so you get turbulence behind you, but you're drawn in there, you're in a little bubble. It's really pretty good. So the screen is definitely not a gimmick. And likewise, the dashboard. Very simple, but it's got a digital display here on the right. You can see the time up there. Down here you've got 2 trip recorders. You've got your fuel gauge running down the left there, temperature in the centre, all very sensible stuff and easy to read. In the middle here you've got your speedo, which is where I think it should be on a touring bike. Still got the rev counter, but that's over to the left. And you've got a little row of idiot lights there, including an oil level warning light, which is useful. And you've got some excellent mirrors on here, some of the best mirrors I've come across. They don't vibrate, and you see far more than your elbows, which is really good. And while we're up the front end, the forks are fully adjustable. You've got your compression damping, rebound damping, and also your preload. And talking about suspension, at the back here, you've got a little lever so you can adjust the preload. And because the bike's on its stand, I can actually do it. See that lever there, when you're carrying a pillion passenger? Just move it over. And there we are, that's stiffened up the rear suspension. One last thing while I'm sitting aboard, the petrol tank, steel, big one, 25 litre, and steel, ideal for that magnetic tank bag. Get it onto the twisty stuff and it really shows its sporting side. The suspension is softish, but it's not squidgy, and it turns really well. It feels more like a Ducati ST4, a Triumph Sprint or a VFR than a big Tourer, so in such circumstances, that's where the sports Tourer comes in. Take it into town and it's an absolute pussycat. Trickling along in 5th gear at 20 miles an hour, it proved incredibly flexible and easy to ride. So there it is, Captain's sensible touring bike 1 minute, sports bike the next. Neat if you can do it, and I think Yamaha have. For instance, it's got a 2-piece seat. Why, you might say? Here we go. There's the front part. Also got a back part here. Now, I can only think that this has been designed for the utility purpose, the working bikes, you know, the police, paramedics, the AA and all those sort of people. A useful little feature, and we're probably going to see these in service use. Down there, it's got a complete stainless steel exhaust system and a catalytic converter tucked away underneath. Those are all the sort of sensible sides. Another thing on the sensible side, you must have noticed these cases. Now these are an optional extra, cost you 499 quid, but there's no ugly frames on them. You just put the old key in, unlock it there, snap open the catch. There we are, away, and off you go into your hotel, looking very smart. And it completely changes the look of the bike as well. You can see it looks far more trim and lightweight. But dead easy, with a bit of luck, I'll be able to put these back on. Just look there, down they go. Make sure that's underneath, that's it, locked up, and that's the panniers on. And of course, another favourite of Paul's and mine is a centre stand. And you need one on a touring bike. When you're loading the thing up, you're filling up your panniers, you're putting your tank bag on, what better than to have a centre stand? So what else can you have? Well, you can have heated grips, and of course you need them on a touring bike. £159 a pair. This hasn't got them, and I wish it had them first thing this morning, I can tell you that. You can also get for this what they call foot shields. I haven't actually seen them, but I guess they fit in this sort of V-shaped wedge here. Click on there, just to give you some protection around your boots. But having said that, the fairing has proved really, really effective. I did get wet, horribly wet coming back from France, but nevertheless, very impressed with the fairing. The FJR comes in black, silver and deep purple metallic, and I reckon we're going to see a lot of these filling a gap in the market. It's not cheap at $9,899 on the road, but touring in the grand style never was.
And on Two Wheels next week, you can join us and 80-odd thousand happy smiling bikers here in the sunshine at the East of England showground near Peterborough, because it's this year's BMF show, and it's fantastic, isn't it?